On today's Ring of Honor, we're drafting the best trades in Senators history.
You're Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome inside episode 10 of the Ring of Honor. I'm Ross Levitan alongside Brandon Piller. The Martian is with us as well. And I mentioned episode 10. It's a contentious and it's a swing episode because the scoring is 4 for Martian, 3 for me, and Pilsy has 2 after an enormous victory in the best Sens goalie mask category last week. Pilsy, the floor is yours after an impressive victory.
Yeah, I feel pretty good about this one, guys. I didn't want to be too cocky in the episode, but I was pretty sure that I had this one locked down. I think this is one of those where the recency bias really got me a lot of points. I think everybody was hyped up about Korpisalo's mask, and I even was as bold to pick arguably the ugliest mask in Ottawa Senators history, and I still beat you guys. So That's just a dominant win. I could have just passed on my 4th pick, and I think I still would have got the win here.
Yeah, I mean, we chirped the crap out of you for that Dominic Hasek pick, and you still ended up squeaking it out. But Pilsy, I've already forgotten about what happened last week. I'm ready to move on to this week here. I can secure the W once again in the overall Ring of Honor if I just win this week. So we're focusing on this week. We're on to the next chapter here.
Wait, before we go on to the next one, though, can you pull up the voting numbers here, Ross? The tweet on the right side there? Yeah. Oh, that looks good. 39.2% for your boy.
Yeah, not bad. Martian had 34.3%, and I was way in last place with 26.5. I need to do some soul searching, and I think I'm going to do pretty well in this one here. Okay. The best trades in Senators history. Or you can follow the show on Twitter at Sens Central, LockedOn.Senators on Instagram. Subscribe on YouTube. Hope you enjoyed back-to-back elite interviews on LOSP. Keith Tkachuk on Thursday and Cheryl Pounder on Friday, the day that NHL 24 comes out. She's the voice, the color commentary of NHL 24. So that's going to be really fun there. And what else do we have to discuss? Oh, Martian Media is on the upswing, and I'm going to be on Martian Match Play next week.
Whoa.
I know.
This is news to me. Nice. Where's this happening?
The Hunt Club in Ottawa. We will be having a time. We're going to have a great weekend, and that's going to kick it off in an appropriate fashion before the home opener. So this is the final Ring of Honor of the season. Next week, we get our clubs out, and then we're ready on Saturday. Philly at home. Claude Giroux being honored, his 1,000th point, home opener. Who knows what kind of announcement Michael Andlauer had yesterday. We are recording this on Thursday because we know that Fridays are for announcements for Michael Andlauer. Yeah. But, Pilsy, you were the winner in the last Ring of Honor, which means you get to decide the order for best trades in Sens history.
Well, I'm taking number 1 here. I've had success in the past when I've had the first overall pick. I believe there is a top pick here, so I want to snag that one and move on. Then I'm going to hand things off to Lalim's Martian, and then Ross, you're going to round out the crew with pick number 3.
Sounds good. That means I also lead the crew off in round 2, so I'll have back-to-back picks there. Pilsy, who is this far and away trade better than everyone else?
Well, I wouldn't say it's far and away. I think there's 2 ways you could go with the first overall pick, but again, I'm going to be leaning on the recency bias of this one. I find that's had success in the past as well, so I'm going to go with the more recent of the top 2 in my opinion. And the best trade in Ottawa Senators history was trading Erik Karlsson to the San Jose Sharks. Now, right off the top, it's a tough look being like the best defenseman in Ottawa Senators history traded away.
Best player in Senators history. Hall of Famer.
For now.
A few Norris trophies.
3.
Yep. But this was such a crucial trade because the San Jose Sharks did not have the success they thought they were going to have when they acquired Erik Karlsson. And this trade hinged on that first round pick. And that ends up turning into the 3rd overall pick in the 2020 draft. Tim Stützle is the crown jewel of that trade. They also get Josh Norris, Chris Tierney, Dylan DeMello, Rudolph Balcers, a pick that turns into Zach Stapchuk, and a pick that turns into Mads Søgaard. They traded up to get Søgaard. So that is just an incredible haul. And a lot of these players are going to be a part of the future here in Ottawa. I mean, you look at Timmy, you look at Zach Stapchuk, you look at Josh Norris, you look at Mads Søgaard. Like, they could all be kind of big pieces here for the Ottawa Senators. And I think that this was the best trade in Ottawa Senators history, because if the Ottawa Senators would have signed Erik Karlsson to that deal, they probably would have ended up doing what the San Jose Sharks did and trading him away, retaining salary, just trying to get out of that monster deal. And that's no disrespect to Erik Karlsson. Obviously, can still get it done here, but it just wasn't the right fit anymore. And this ended up working out perfectly for the Ottawa Senators. So that's what I'm going with as the best trade in Ottawa Senators history.
Minor qualm. I want Martian to have a ruling on this. I don't think we can count Mads Søgaard as a part of the return, because Ottawa traded up in the draft to get Mads Søgaard. They used San Jose second, but then they had to add a 3rd. So, I don't know.
Okay, I mean, if that's where we're going to nitpick the Erik Karlsson trade, that's fine.
Yeah, we're not going to include Søgaard, but the original trade, yeah. That's a ruling on that. But yeah, definitely Pilsy, he can still get it done. He's coming fresh off a Norris Trophy. Let's not forget that. So
yeah, no doubt. I do think that
who needs a Norris Trophy when you got Norris?
How many shoulders does Erik Karlsson have?
How many ankles?
Yeah, true. But hey, 100 points. That's the only reason why, to me, it's not like the definitive 1-1. He literally had the best offensive season in NHL, since 91 by a defenseman. Brian Leach, I think, had over 100 points. So there is that. But from a team standpoint, obviously, it went.
How'd the Sharks do with him last year?
Well, how'd they do with him the first year? They went just as far as the Sens did, and we still talk about 2017.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
So there is that. But yeah, the Sens set themselves up in the future. We are getting a little nitpicky on this one. It's a good pick. So just so we're all on the same page for the graphic, I feel like it's the trade, whoever the trade is, because I can't put all those pieces. So I just Karlsson to San Jose. Everyone gets it.
Yeah.
Okay, Karlsson to San Jose. Pilsy, number 1. Martian, number 2.
Well, I definitely thought Pilsy was going to be taking this trade with his pick, because the Sens acquired 2 Sens legends in this trade. And this was one that, dragged out for a little while. And that was trading Alexei Yashin to the New York Islanders in exchange for Zdeno Chara and the 2nd overall pick, which ended up being Jason Spezza. So that,
and Bill McCult.
And don't forget Bill McCult, who went 82 games without scoring a goal as an Ottawa Senator at one point. So Bill McCult, yeah, we could throw him in there. Obviously, he wasn't the prized possession piece of this trade, but that 2nd overall pick working out to be Spezza was obviously huge. One of the top
draft. It's not like it's so different than Timmy, right? Because Timmy, we didn't
really know who it was going to be.
Yeah, we had a whole season of watching Martin Jones, whereas everybody knew that first overall that year was Kovalchuk, if I'm not mistaken, if not Bouwmeester. It was Kovalchuk first overall. Everybody knew that it was going to be him, and then Ottawa goes up there and gets Jason Spezza. So it was more of a slam dunk draft. You knew it was 2nd overall at the time the trade was made.
Right, and Zdeno Chara at the time was just a very raw, lanky defenseman for the Islanders, and nobody really knew what his true potential was going to end up being. And he turned out to be an absolute monster for the Sens. And then obviously beyond that with the Bruins, but pretty incredible that, he ended up being almost as valuable, I would say, as Spezza in that deal. As far as, being a star player on the team, he was right up there with the best of them, and definitely a leader as well. Right. So I love that pick. For me, I didn't think Pilsy. I thought you were going to take that one. What happened?
So too. That's my number 1.
It's between those 2 for me. But the thing is, Tim Stützle could end up being a better player than Jason Spezza. I mean, he could. Yeah, that's what I said. He could.
Yeah. I mean, you could possibly. I mean, this is a bold one too, but he could end up being the most talented Senator of all time. So even trading away Karlsson doesn't look so bad if you get hindsight on your side. you still have a little bit of hindsight in your side with that pick, I'd say. But, Timmy still, the sky's the limit here still. So TBD, but this could look really good as the first overall pick in a few years, Pilsy. If you would have picked this the day after that trade, I don't think you'd be getting any.
Oh God, no, it'd be brutal. I remember Ross and I were frantically Googling players. Who is Dylan DeMello? Who's Chris Tierney? My guy Rudolph Balster is coming along in that trade too. There was figuring out what Josh Norris was all about. It was a wild trade. I'm going for kind of overall future impact, and the trade I ultimately left to you, that's already been determined. That's already been decided. So that's where I went. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I like the picks. Both you guys, those would have been 1-2 for me, but now I get 2 picks to make up some value here. And my first pick, you guys did a lot of, young players that are acquired that blossom, Spezza, Stützle, right? I'm going a different direction. I'm going for what seemed like a swap that would benefit both teams as rentals. And he turned into a guy who's being argued to have his jersey up in the rafters. Is it Ring of Honor? The Ottawa Senators in 2011 made a trade of Brian Elliott for Craig Anderson, who became the winningest goalie in franchise history, the best playoff performer the franchise has ever seen, and he stabilized the position despite completely ruining the tank in 2011.
Yeah, I mean, that one was crazy how it just panned out so well on Ottawa's side. I mean, Craig Anderson, you're right. He's the best goalie in Sens history. So it's hard to pass up on that trade as your pick, Ross.
His first game with the Ottawa Senators, I believe, and I'm double checking right now, I want to say it was a 50 burger he put up against the Leafs. It was a 47 save shutout. His first game in Toronto.
They won that trade on day one.
They won the trade on day one. He finished off the season so incredibly. He got the contract and then just became a part of the fabric of the organization. So to get that for a guy who you really would have just lost for nothing and not really cared about. Brian Elliott went, 220th in the draft? He was the second last pick. Maybe 290 because it was back when there were 10 rounds.
But I don't want to totally disrespect Brian Elliott. It's not like he fell off a cliff after that. He won multiple William M. Jennings awards. He was still a really good goalie.
Not in Colorado, he wasn't.
No, but I just mean overall, it's not like he just faded off.
You know what he did in Colorado? He went 2-8-1 with an .891 save percentage after the trade. So
arguably, it would have been smart to keep Elliott, tank hard, and then try to get Anderson in the offseason. So I don't know.
Without Andy, there's no 2013 playoff series win against the Habs the way that they did. There's no 2017 run. That guy is just one of the all-time playoff performers in Sens history. In hockey history, if you sort by save percentage, I want to say Craig Anderson's right up there with Tuukka Rask and Tim Thomas for best save percentages ever in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's probably the correct number 3 pick there, Ross. That's a good pick.
Don't forget, though, that the Sens were still able to make the playoffs without Craig Anderson when he almost cut his hand off when he was cutting some frozen chicken. So
that was what,
2017? Was that 2017?
That was the Hamburger.
Yeah, Hamburger. That's what it was.
Yeah, it only took a once in a lifetime performance from Andrew Hammond to get them in the playoffs.
Maybe it's the crease that's valuable and not the man in it.
Not even once of a lifetime, Ross. 23 times of a lifetime, going 21-2 or whatever.
Yeah, that's good. So, boys, I have one in my back pocket here, but I don't think either of you have a clue about it. So I'm actually going to save it for my last.
Wow, you're going to say something like that? It's going to happen now.
Yeah, that's interesting.
You think you're going to sneak one by me and Pilsy, Ross? You think you're going to sneak one by us here?
Yeah,
I do.
Unbelievable.
I do. But in this instance, I'm going to stick with a popular player that gets added for absolutely nothing. And it's actually in the same calendar year. So the Brian Elliott for Craig Anderson swap was February of 2011. Well, how about fast forward 10 months later to December of 2011? The Ottawa Senators acquired a disgruntled Kyle Turris from the Arizona Coyotes in exchange for David Rundblad and a second-round pick. That's the biggest, fan trade of all time, where it's oh yeah, you can have this guy who's not panning out and a second round pick, and we'll take your high pick. Turris was a 3rd overall pick. He was a guy with a ton of potential, just couldn't figure it out. Couldn't unlock something in Phoenix back then. It wasn't even Arizona. And
he just didn't want to be there.
But again, like right when he got to Ottawa, it was like right away, man. Yeah. He showed off that a ridiculous shot, that penchant for just doing everything at a very high level, and man, became an absolute fan favorite for the Ottawa Senators. It's unfortunate the way it went, but in hindsight, they probably did well trading him when they did, where they didn't have to commit to that 7-year deal that the Nashville Predators are still paying off in the buyout situation. So I just think that was a huge trade. He came in, stabilized. He was put with Alfie right away, and those two just made magic together for a few years.
Yeah, he was a playoff performer too, and that was such a weird reclamation project, right? Because he was not doing anything in Arizona, and then when they got him, all of a sudden he did the change of scenery, just turned him into a different player. It was awesome.
Yeah, it really was. So Kyle Turris is my second pick here.
You hated that trade at the time, though, didn't you, Ross?
Me? No, I actually liked it from day one. I was a big Turris guy. Oh yeah, man.
I thought you were a big Rundblad guy. Yeah.
No, not. I was a big Rundblad guy. Because they traded for him. Funny enough, in the Tarasenko trade, the 16th overall pick in the 2010 draft, and no, it was his mixtape in Sweden that I loved, but in Ottawa he did nothing. He had one stretch pass against Like, I was like, oh my god, that was crazy.
He has arrived.
Yeah, and it didn't work out. Stanley Cup champ though, he did win in Chicago. I don't know if he played during that playoff run, but there's a picture of him holding the Stanley Cup, so you'll never take that away from him.
Nice.
All right, well, I guess I'm up here, and I feel like I'm going to snag the one that Ross had in his back pocket. Let's just hope here. You really don't think so? Okay, well, for my pick, I'm going back to the 2008 NHL entry draft.
No.
Ottawa Senators move up in that draft, trading the 18th overall pick and their pick in the 3rd round for the 15th overall pick in Ottawa for this draft. Nice. And who do they select? None other than Erik Karlsson. And let's not forget, too, those 2 picks that they traded away to become, those players ended up being
household names,
Chet Pickard and Taylor Beck for Erik Karlsson. I mean, if that's not a fleece job, I don't know what is. Maybe that's just bad drafting or what. But, I mean, Erik Karlsson coming to town in Ottawa. They select this little tiny defenseman. Everyone's like, what is this pick? He's tiny. He's not going to be effective. I believe they were slamming it pretty hard on TSN. And I think it was Pierre Maguire, if I'm not mistaken, actually, which is pretty funny. And yeah, obviously that turned out to be, we said it earlier, the best player in or most skilled player in franchise history, we can say up to this point. So, and a couple Norris trophies in Ottawa, obviously one later on. That was a great selection and a great move up in the draft.
Yeah, I was hoping that would come back to me, because that would be hilarious. That my top 2 picks would be acquiring Karlsson and then trading him away. I wanted that for the graphics so bad, but yes, that is a good pick, Martian. Was that the one you were talking about, Ross?
That was the one I was talking about. Next pick, I underestimated.
Look at this guy. That is insulting, Martian. I thought it was going to be like a sneaky late round pick or something like that. The trade to acquire Erik Karlsson is the one you thought you could sneak past us?
Yep.
Oh my God.
You have a couple more in my back pocket, but that's so funny that you didn't even hesitate.
That was going to be my next pick too.
For the record, though, I actually like the Kyle Turris one better.
That's a good pick. Yeah. But thinking you could sneak that one around is wild.
I know.
Yikes.
I got my hands in Ross's back pockets here.
Yeah, are you am I sharing my screen or something?
Imagine.
That's brutal. All right. Okay. Good pick. Good pick, Martian.
Yeah, good pick, Martian.
Thank you. You're up, Pills.
This is a tough one for me. I'm deciding between a couple here. Let me just look up some quick stats here. Do you guys feel like you have your next one set up? Like you got one loaded?
Why, you want to make a trade?
No, I don't think I want to make a trade, but I'm just asking if I'm trying to gauge if I'm missing something obvious here.
Oh, yeah, there's one that's so obvious.
There's
You know what? I'm gonna go with this because at the time it was so massive. I'm looking at 2016-2017 season. The Ottawa Senators are scrambling for a goaltender. They need a goalie so bad. Let's throw out a 5th round pick. See if we can pick up a goalie. Mike Condon with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Seems like a just, okay, nice. They're getting some backup depth. Well, Mike Condon ended up having a massive season for the Sens that year, playing in 40 games, having a 19-14-6 record, 5 shutouts, 914 save percentage. He all but saves that season for the Ottawa Senators, and all for the cost. Like, if you could tell a GM you can save your season for the cost of a 5th round pick, you're doing that deal every time. I'm going Mike Condon trade.
Yeah, that was good. I think he set the franchise record for most consecutive starts. I want to say he played 26 straight games. Is that the stat?
Yeah, Ross, we were doing Making Sense of the Sens at that time, and we had one of our segments was, is anybody not named Mike Condon going to start for the Ottawa Senators? And we did that segment every single game, and it went on for quite a while. So that's one of those trades where it was a low risk, high reward type move, and it paid off hugely.
I agree. I think that's an undercover one. I think you probably could have gotten it a little later, but
I think I might have, but that's one that I liked here, so I'm happy with it.
Yeah, it's definitely not the best trade for a goalie that's been picked, but it's still a really good pick.
Yeah, this one kind of flew under my radar. It wasn't even on my list that I prepared 30 minutes in advance of this. So yeah, I mean, I remember it. It was nice. Yeah, and 5th round pick is basically nothing. So
who did the 5th round pick become, Pilsy?
I actually don't know.
Because, I mean, what if it became one of the NHL's premier stars?
I'm quite certain it didn't, but do you have it with you? Are you teasing me here?
No, typically the NHL trade tracker actually usually shows what pick was made with the draft that was moved, but it actually doesn't here. So
here, wait, I'll try to find it.
I think we would know because the Habs don't have any of the league's premier stars. So
they got him from Pittsburgh. So he turned into household name Jan Drogz.
Oh, I actually was thinking about getting his jersey.
Too bad.
What was that last name again, Pilsy? Just one more time for me.
Jan Drogz.
Thank you. Yeah.
Drozg.
And with that, it's a perfect time for Pilsy to also say a word from our friends at Bird Dogs. Then we're going to reset. We're going to pull up the template here, get a where we're at right now with each of our 2 picks. Then we'll get into the second half of the draft. You're listening to Locked On Senators.
This episode is brought to you by our friends over at Bird Dogs. Bird Dogs makes the best shorts around, I promise you. And I don't know about what the weather's like for you guys, Ross and Martian, but here in Collingwood, it is still short season. It's been like high 20s every day. You're thinking October and you're doing ads for selling shorts. No, this is the perfect time for Bird Dogs to be a part of your wardrobe. Savor every moment you have of short season and do that while looking and feeling good with Bird Dogs. Their stretch khaki shorts are designed to fit slimmer through the thigh and leg, giving you that truly sculpted look. They do the exact same thing as Lululemon, but fit way better. My favorite part about Bird Dogs is they have the anti-stink sweat wicking fabric that keeps you cool and dry all day long. It's perfect for any type of function. You going golfing. Maybe we'll see Ross rocking the Bird Dogs on the next episode of Martian Match Play.
You will.
You will. That is a guarantee. So if you want to see Ross's thighs looking sculpted, you can see that with his Bird Dog shorts on Martian Media at YouTube. Go ahead and subscribe. That's a little plug for our guy Martian here. You can go. It's date night. Toss on the Bird Dogs. taking the dog out for a walk. Martian's taking Hansel out for a stroll around town. He's got the bird dogs on, hanging out at the pool, working out, whatever it is, you can count on Bird Dogs. So go to birddogs.com/LockedOnNHL or enter promo code LockedOnNHL at checkout. You're going to get yourself a free Bird Dogs water bottle with your order. That's birddogs.com/LockedOnNHL for a free water bottle at checkout. You won't want to take your bird dogs off. We promise you.
All right, welcome back. Locked On Senators, Martian Media here with the best trades in Senators history. What did we miss? Let us know in the comments. I love when people don't only message after the show or once. I like when there's multiple comments, when something bothers them during the episode. They're like, I got to get my takes out here. And there's multiple comments. So don't be shy. Comment as many times as you'd like on YouTube. The best trades in Senators history. Pilsy led us off with Karlsson to San Jose. Then Martian went with Yashin to the New York Islanders. A pair of former captains on the way out lead off this countdown with what came in return. I've got the best goalie in franchise history coming to Ottawa in exchange for Brian Elliott. Then I've got one of the more popular players in Sens history, Kyle Turris, coming in for David Rundblad in a second. Martian went to the well of the draft pick trade, trading 18th overall and a third-round pick for 15th overall, ultimately going with Erik Karlsson, and then an important stopgap during the 2017 season, trading a fifth-round pick for Mike Condon, who was crucial in getting the Sens into the playoffs. Pilsy, you're back on the clock.
I'm going to go full-on pander mode for this pick.
I love your strategy these days, Pilsy.
Yeah, I'm trying everything, seeing what works here. So the Ottawa Senators, and this is Karlsson related. So that I wish I had that Karlsson one, so all of my things could be Karlsson related. That would have been great for the brand. Trying to find a partner for Erik Karlsson, a defense partner. You know, you need someone who's kind of more a shutdown defenseman, plays a physical game, can toss out hip checks. Someone that is going to have Erik Karlsson feeling confident that he can be a little bit of a riverboat gambler while he's going to be protected and he's got a good partner beside him. Trading Nick Foligno for Marc Methot, at the time, I think a lot of Sens fans were shocked and saying, well, like Nick Foligno was a guy that everybody liked, but having the proper partner for Erik Karlsson turned out to be a huge piece for the Ottawa Senators. And, I mean, just getting Marc Methot, hometown kid, getting him back to Ottawa. Now he's still living in the area, covering the team, coming on Locked On Senators. That was a huge trade that, it went beyond just the playing career. So I'm taking this as far as off-ice value as well. So acquiring Marc Methot is my pick.
Hey, Martian, how much off-ice value does having a captain for 6 years do?
Yeah, I mean, that's where I was going to go with it too. But I actually like your angle on that, Pilsy. You know, Methot's involvement even with you guys on TSN and is on Twitter. It's fun to have him in the mix. That's to say the least, I would say. So I kind of like that angle that you just took at it. But as far as the on-ice stuff goes, like, that was a pretty fair trade. Like, I think if you ask a Columbus Blue Jackets fan, they would make that trade again 100 times out of 100. So I'm not sure.
Ross, how did Nick Foligno lead the Columbus Blue Jackets to the playoffs? I mean, they must have had a lot of playoff success.
He beat the Leafs at least once.
Well, no, he swept the Tampa Bay Lightning after they had the best regular season in NHL history at the time.
Oh, maybe that's the series I'm thinking of.
Yeah, it was. They didn't play. Oh, no, they did play the Leafs, but wasn't that
Pierre-Luc Dubois went off, right? It was like
that wasn't technically the playoffs. That was the
qualifier. Oh, yeah. So they won one playoff round. Sweet.
2.
No.
At least
we're not counting the Leafs one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, it's he didn't win a playoff round with the Sens either. Nick Foligno, he had more goalie interference penalties than he did goals in the playoffs, for crying out loud. Yeah, they got by the first round twice technically, but that series against Columbus was pretty solid. That to say, I like your angle as well, Pilsy, so we'll give it to you. But again, I think that would be one of the fairest trades in Senators history. Would probably be a better way to describe it. I think both teams
still a good trade.
Exactly what they needed. Yeah, it's a good trade. These are best trades.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a fine trade.
It's a fine trade.
If we were doing best bind trades,
Yeah.
Best fine trades. Hey, I'll be sure to let Mark the Thought know you guys don't think there's much value returning there.
Okay.
Go for it. I love getting in his head.
He might unfollow you.
Yeah, might block me for a day.
Oh, jeez.
Put me in the doghouse. Okay, I'm up here again, and I'm going with a very recent, it was a recent trade, boys, and I love the looks of it. I think that that this is something where the Sens really needed to do something to round out their decor, and they acquired a guy who had been on the trade block. It seemed like for over a year, and that's Jacob Chikrin. And they got him, I think, for a pretty decent price here. It was a conditional first-round pick. I think it was top 5 protected, maybe top 3. 2024 second and a 2026 second, and that's just straight up for Jacob Chikrin, who comes in. And imagine the Ottawa Senators decor right now without this absolute stud back there. So to me, I mean, it's still, there's a lot of road ahead as far as what this trade is going to end up looking like. I loved when he came in already and scored in his first game in Ottawa. I think obviously they kind of need Jacob Chikrin. So giving up that first round pick that would ended up being, I believe, 7th overall, and Arizona took that Russian. I can't remember the name.
Daniil
Boot.
Yes. So I'm fine with that as of now. I don't know what that player is going to end up looking like, but I know that Jacob Chikrin is a stud. So I like that trade for Ottawa, and I think it's going to end up looking better and better as the years go on here, especially if he stays healthy.
Yeah, Ross, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling a little warmer, a little sunnier, and I've got a drink in my hand just from hearing about that trade, as that's reminiscent of our Cabo trip and our Cabo era. So yes, that definitely is a good pick. It remains to be seen. I thought about putting it, but it remains to be seen how good of a trade that looks like. Like, I think, Martian, again, you used if we did the Carlson trade and then you talked about it right after, how would that look? That's maybe one of those where, like, maybe after the DeBrincat trade, everyone's like, oh, that's going to be one of the best trades in Ottawa Senators history, but it doesn't turn out that way. I'm not saying that's going to happen with the Chikrin trade. I'm just saying, in my mind, it's too early to tell, but as a late round pick, I think you're getting good value there.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think obviously the memories for us, it makes it even better. But you look at overall the way that it shook out, it's only going to get better as long as Jacob Chikrin can stay healthy. So I like that pick there, Martian. You got one left, both of you. That means I've got a pair here to wrap up my side of the draft. And well, Martian already set the stage for me to do this by talking about a swap of draft picks. I'm going to go with a trade where the Ottawa Senators gave up not much, Alex Auld. And what do they get in exchange? A 6th round pick. But it's not what the pick is, it's what you do with it. The Senators step up in 2010 and draft Mark Stone with the 178th overall pick in that draft. Turned out pretty all right for a while until, things went south. But for now, like, it's still go. You look back and you're like, hey, I couldn't name one good thing about Alex Auld in Ottawa. Definitely not his mask.
His mask.
No, definitely not his mask.
His mask is great.
I like it, Martian. I
like
like it.
Score than your team of masks.
No. So I'm going, the pick that they acquired to draft Mark Stone in 2010.
No, that's a good one. I thought about going that direction as well. That's low risk, high reward. One of the many late round draft picks that the Ottawa Senators absolutely crushed out of the park. So, yep, it's a nice pick.
Thank you. It is a nice pick.
Yeah, sneaky. That one didn't click for me. So I actually didn't have that on my list either, but it's not because it's not good. It's just because I just overlooked the fact that they picked Mark Stone in the 6th round.
And now I get to wrap up the draft by throwing a wrench in the direction of Martian for stealing the draft pick trade that I wanted in the 2nd round. You know where I'm going to go with this one? Back in 1999, the Ottawa Senators were looking for a goalie at the draft, and they got their man. They traded Ted Donato and Antti Jussi Niemi, for Patrick Lalime.
Nice.
Nice one, Ross. Yeah, that one was on my radar. You were right, but I don't think I was gonna pick it next. But I like that you just kind of retaliated on me there. So it's kind of, I'll take it.
And I just got goalies all over the place in mine. Let's go.
Hashtag goalie friendly show.
Really friendly, baby.
Let's go. So Lalim to Ottawa is the trade. Lalim to Ottawa. Let's go.
That's a good one.
You get the two best goalies in Senators history, and they gave up a combined nothing to get them.
Yeah, I want to comment on it, but I'm already thinking about my next pick, and I'm trying to split between a few different options here. It's really tough for me to decide which one I want to go with. This one is going to be a little bit of a throwback. The Ottawa Senators traded Trent McCleary.
Oh.
He's a fourth line grinder and a third round pick. I'm not sure who that player ended up being, for none other than Sean McEachran, who ended up being a really good player for Ottawa, skating around in the top six. Lots of goals coming off Sean McEachran's stick in that late 90s, early 2000s era. And I remember him as a young lad. So, and I think Sean McEachran was a bit of a fan favorite and also a bit of an underrated Ottawa Senator. But that was a great acquisition for the team. So I'm gonna go with acquiring Sean McEachran for Trent McCleary, who, don't forget, was a fourth liner and a third round pick.
How do you spell McEachran? I always mess this one up.
I think it's MAC capital EACHERN. I don't know.
That sounds right.
I don't know if that's right.
No, MC.
Oh, I added an A.
Yeah, thanks for coming out. I like the pick though. He might be like, that's one of those ones where you have to be from the era that got to see Sean McEachran play, but he was elite.
Yeah, he sniped.
Yeah, he was a real good player. I like that pick.
Okay, thank you. I was a little worried about it. There's another one that's a really fun one, but I guess we'll get to that in the honorable mentions, unless Pilsy takes it now.
Ooh.
Yeah, oh man. I don't like how this draft is going for me, guys. I'm gonna be honest. So I don't
I'll tell Mark Mathot that.
You know what? Screw it. I'm just going to go totally off the rails here. And everyone, go ahead. Have your copy and pasted. Pilsy threw this away with the last two picks. Have that ready to reply in the comments here. But this one, I more just want to get on the graphic because it's absolutely hilarious. I was going to leave it for the honorable mentions, but I think I'm already down in this one already. So I might as well go rogue. Try to throw something crazy here. In 2006. The Ottawa Senators acquired a third-round pick from the Boston Bruins, which turned into Eric Gryba. Trivia: what did the Boston Bruins acquire for that pick?
No clue.
I can't recall.
This was back in the day where you got compensated for hiring executives and maybe coaches as well. But the Boston Bruins hired Peter Chiarelli. And in exchange for that, the Ottawa Senators were compensated with a third-round pick, which they used to pick Eric Gryba. So if we're talking about giving up nothing and getting something in return,
that's not a trade.
There we go. It's on the cap-friendly Ottawa Senators trade history.
That's like a transaction. That's not a trade. That's not like
put it in Chiarelli for Gryba.
Yeah, I mean, you can keep the pick, Pilsy, because I don't know if it. I mean, I think you're a bit of a rule breaker, but you can keep it because I don't think it's gonna push you over the top or anything. But
yeah, I don't think so either. But I saw that and I was like, man, what a wild time that was there. And mostly, I want to pick that just because. Not Peter Chiarelli. I don't know. I'm glad that he didn't have too much control over the Ottawa Senators. So that's more of a addition by subtraction move in my mind.
Yeah,
that's so funny.
I mean, the flip side of that is, what was Peter Chiarelli's first move as Bruins GM?
Yeah, he did end up getting Zdeno Chara, but Chara was leaving regardless. So I think Levitan Martian could have been GM of the Bruins, and he could have got that deal done.
I would have got that deal done. Chara
exactly.
Was my favorite player.
See,
that's funny. All right, good pick. Good pick, just from the standpoint that I had no clue that happened.
Yep.
Pilsy, you let us off, so why don't you recap your team, and then we'll get to some honorable mentions.
All right, I've got the Ottawa Senators acquiring Tim Stützle and an absolute haul from San Jose for some player. It's not important who that player was. Getting Mike Condon for a 5th-round pick, saving their season and making it to the playoffs. Acquiring hometown and fan favorite Mark Mathot, again, the other person going in that trade, not relevant. And acquiring a 3rd-round pick for just simply allowing the Boston Bruins to hire Chiarelli. So that is my team.
And I've got Yashin going to the Islanders for Spezza, Chara, and McCult. I've got the Sens moving up in the draft for where they selected Erik Karlsson 15th overall for the 18th overall and a 3rd. I've got acquiring Jacob Chikrin for a 1st, and I think it was 2 seconds if I recall now. I can't remember anymore. And then getting Sean McEachran for Trent McCleary.
I don't know how to spell McEachran's name right, but I'm very certain that is wrong.
I copied and pasted it, so I bet you it's right.
Oh, okay.
You know what's throwing you off, Pilsy, is there's no capital E.
Yeah, that is what's throwing me off. Yeah. Okay,
yeah,
sorry.
I legitimately couldn't do lowercase in this font. So.
Okay, comment retracted. My bad.
My picks, getting Craig Anderson for Brian Elliott, getting Kyle Turris for David Rundblad in a 2nd, getting Mark Stone for Alex Ald, and getting Patrick Lalime from the Anaheim Ducks. So those are your 12 best trades in Senators history, according to Locked On Senators and Martian Media. Now, the honorable mentions.
1 second here, Ross. I have a bit of a qualm, and I might just be nitpicking here, but we did agree that we were just going to say acquiring the player name and not putting who they were traded for. And you have 2 that show Elliott for Andy, Rundblad for Turris, and I feel like on the graphic, that's giving yourself an unfair advantage. I know you did it for Pilsy too, for the Foligno Mathot trade. Those 1-for-1s are nice looking on the graphic.
Yeah, because what am I going to put? Chikrin for a 1st, a 2nd?
No, I think you say acquiring Chikrin, and you say acquiring Anderson, acquiring Turris.
But I mean, the first ones are what they're not acquiring, but what they're putting out.
Yeah, this is tricky. Yeah, because that's the thing. Like my pick, the 1st overall pick I took, the haul is a big part of it.
Right, but what am I gonna do? Put 18?
No, I don't know either. I don't know how to solve it. Yeah,
make the font 2.
No, I don't have a solution.
The way you did it is right for the first 2, and then I think you have to put acquiring Anderson for your first one, and then acquiring Turris for your second one. I think just having the other side of the trade, I feel like it just because it was a great trade for Ottawa. Rundblad, people are gonna be like, Rundblad for Turris. Obviously, that was a good trade, but for us, it's like they almost have to go and look up what the trade is if they don't remember exactly off the top of their head. I don't know. I might just be being very picky, but I feel like on the graphic that's kind of
it's high stakes, man.
Okay, then why can't you put Yashin for Spezza Chara? That'll fit.
Well, what about McCall?
Forget him. I don't need him. He doesn't need him.
We'll have a discussion before the Twitter one goes up, because this one's not the one that's going to be used for the voting. So this one's for the people right here.
Perfect.
But yeah, your concern is being heard, and it's in the court system. We'll get you an answer sooner rather than later.
Okay.
Great to hear. I'm looking forward to the response on that.
Okay, any honorable mentions here? One that I considered, but at the same time, I don't think it would look that great on a graphic, because obviously Marian Hossa was the player he was, but 100 goals in 2 years for Danny Heatley. I mean, you make that trade 10 times out of 10.
I thought about taking that one, but man, I'm trading away Marian Hossa.
Yeah.
I thought about it too, because it's just such an epic trade, but yeah, I didn't want to go there either. I think I think a lot of people, if you look back at that, you just wouldn't make that trade usually. But I mean, the 100 goals that he scored in those first 2 years, it was pretty sick to watch. So depends on when you ask me, I guess is what I'm saying.
Here's the question: if Heatley doesn't demand that trade and stays on, does that change our answers? Probably.
I don't think so, because
okay,
one guy's a Hall of Famer, first ballot, and the other guy's not.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, if he stays with Spezza and Alfredsson,
yeah, I guess you never know. And like, say they win a cup or something.
That's
like
the thing.
Oh well, never happened. I got a fun one here. What about the Ryan Dzingel for Duclair in 2 seconds trade?
Yeah,
I thought about that one as well. Yeah,
if they didn't, piss away both those second round picks. They didn't make either of them.
No.
Yeah, they were complete misses. And then not qualifying Anthony Duclair for what, $1.3 million? Like,
yeah, that was a weird one.
That was a weird one. So, some of the other ones I have, like, I thought about doing this one for my last one, trading a second round pick for Ben Bishop. Like, man,
yeah,
like, just on paper, that is an amazing trade. But what, they get 11 games out of Bishop and then they shipped him off for Corey Conacher? Like, that did not turn out well. But if the Sens had kept Ben Bishop, whew.
Yeah, then that skyrockets up the rankings. I like that one for sure.
Go ahead, Russ.
Here's a silly one. Obviously, Martin Havlat was unreal in Ottawa, but he didn't really do much afterwards. Getting Tom Pricing, even just for that 1 year, that guy was such a key dog.
Go ahead, Ross. Say the plus minus stat. It's your favorite.
Well, it's the best single season in Sens history, I want to say.
It's got, well, Wade Redden might challenge it, but
he's plus 42 in 1 year. And then he's like, gotta go. I went to this last year. It's like plus 5, the best all time. No, second best season. He's plus 40. Daniel Alfredson plus 42 the same season.
What about this blockbuster when the Sens got Phaneuf from the Leafs and it was like a 9-player trade? Phaneuf, Fratton, Casey Bailey, Ryan Rupert for Cowan, Greening, McCulloch, Lindbergh, and a second.
Yeah, that was a wild trade. I remember that, and I thought about doing that as well, Martian. But the only issue is the Leafs kind of dunked on the Sens in that sense because all those players they just cut and bought out the money. So the money trade made no sense in the end for Ottawa. But Dion Phaneuf had some nice years and some good memories in Ottawa.
Yeah, I liked Phaneuf so much as a Sen. It was weird because I absolutely hated him when he was a Leaf. And then the moment I saw him in a Sens jersey, I'm like, this rocks. Let's go.
Yep.
Nobody took Alex DeBrincat.
No. I think there's a chance down the road, depending on how this goes, that sending DeBrincat away could look like one of the best trades in Sens history.
I thought about doing that one for my last one just to be like, that guy is a loser, no effort, lazy, and just getting him out of here was the best thing this team could have done. And that's another recency bias thing. But I mean, Chiarelli for Greiba, like, how do you not take that?
Yeah, I mean, when that's on the board, it's
yeah.
It's hilarious. All right, that's all I got. Any others, fellas?
I got one. I got
one more too, Martian. I got two more. Martian, you go ahead though.
Okay, my last one here is a kind of a strange one. When the Sens drafted Brian Berard first overall, and he requested a trade right away, and then the Sens just traded him for the guy who was selected second overall, Wade Redden.
Yeah,
but they also got Damian Rhodes in that trade, so that was kind of a sneaky one too.
That was a 3-team trade though.
Oh, I didn't even realize that. I just saw who they got.
Yeah, I always mispronounce.
He gave up Martin Straka and Beaupre.
Yes, exactly. Isn't it?
Had a great career.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
My last. Oh, sorry, Martian. Go ahead.
No, that was it.
That's it. Yeah, no, that was a weird one. And Wade Redden, like that, he had some big years in Ottawa. I also had trading Lazar for a second-round pick. Ross, this was in, I believe, our Making Sense of the Sens days.
Yeah, it was Alex Formanton was a second-round pick.
Yeah, but just before the pick was even made, we were celebrating this like crazy. We were like, I can't believe we got rid of Lazar and we got a second-round pick in return. It was massive. Like at the time, it was massive. And then obviously getting Formanton, that turned out well for a short period of time. And then my last one is acquiring Mike Comrie for Kagorodov.
Alexei Kagorodov.
Kagorodov, yes. Yeah, that I was a big Mike Comrie guy.
Kagorodov.
Yeah,
that's great. One of the rare mid-season like deadline trades during that run period from like 2000 to 2007 that actually like worked out and helped them.
Yeah.
You want to do Oleg Saprikin as well?
Nah, I wasn't a huge Saprikin guy.
No, me neither. He was like a Costco brand Maxim Afinoganov.
Yeah.
Scored a big goal in the playoffs, though.
Yeah, I did have that one.
The cover of the Ottawa Sun the next day was freaking awesome. Like Saprikin.
Yeah.
That was awesome. Good memories. Hopefully they make a few more this year. It's Saturday. It's the day of the final Senators preseason game, and then we'll turn the page to the regular season. The postcast is the next time you'll see the three of us in the same room together. So how about that? And then, boys, we'll be in the real same room together in 1 week's time. We are 1 week away from the home opener here on Saturday. Martian, any final thoughts on today's Ring of Honor, the final Ring of Honor of the first season of the show? I would call this an overall success. This has been a blast just from a selfish standpoint of enjoying chatting with you guys and making lists and having people get mad at them. And from the standpoint that it seems people are relating with it and enjoying it as well.
Yeah, it's been a ton of fun. That one was especially fun. I'm coming for the win. And then other than that, my final thoughts would be make sure to check out Martian Media on the YouTube channel, like and subscribe to those videos, and stay tuned for. I do have Ross coming at the end of the week, but I also have Jason York. We've got a round of golf booked for Tuesday, so hopefully I'll be able to get out 2 videos next week. So stay tuned for those.
At the Royal or what?
At the Marshes.
Okay, you got to get a home and home because I think Jason York's at the Royal.
Yeah, maybe we'll talk about that. Hopefully he can sneak me over there.
That's a great track too. Pillsy, any final thoughts?
Final thoughts for me is I hope me zigging and zagging all over my draft strategy for this one pays off. But you know what? I'm just glad I got. I'm happy with the 2 wins I got. Best scrappers, best goalie mask. You know, if you can put that on, I can put that on my resume. I'm happy.
I love it. I love it, fellas. This has been an absolute blast. Hope everyone enjoyed it as much as we did. We will see you next week at the home opener. And remember, vote on Twitter at Sens Central. We're putting the voting link in the comments below. We'll pin that. It'll be right at the top. Make sure you have your say of who will be crowned the Ring of Honor Season 1 champion right here on Locked On Senators Ring of Honor. For @Laleem's Martian and Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan, and this has been signing off for the Ring of Honor. I'm so sad. It's your team every day.